أهلا بكم في هذه النافذة الخاصة التي نأتيكم بها من مؤتمر الأطراف كوب 28، ونستضيف فيها المدير العام لصندوق النقد الدولي السيدة كريستينا جورجيفا. مرحبا فيك في دبي بداية وعلى شاشة سكاي نيوز عربية.
شكرا.
هذه هي النسخة السادسة التي تقومين بحضورها من مؤتمر الأطراف. قبل المقابلة كنت قد سألتك عن المؤتمر وقلت لي أنه يتحول إلى مؤتمر للأمل. أعطيني لماذا ولماذا هذه النسخة هي نسخة مختلفة؟
The most important difference is that there is clearly willingness to act, and it starts from the creation of the loss and damage fund, the commitment to triple renewable energy sources within years, the announcements made by private sector for moving into blended finance faster than we thought would be possible, and the reform of the multilateral development banks. In other words, action, not words. For us at the IMF, we come here with promises made at the previous COP, delivered on. We have created a $40 billion Resilience and Sustainability Trust just a year ago, and today we are here with 11 programs, 6 of them in Africa, and many more in our pipeline. We have already committed 20% of the funding that we have generated. It is either already through our board or on its way to our board. And that is what I appeal to everyone. Do as much you can and then a bit more, because we are faced with an existential crisis. It is also a fantastic opportunity to transform our economies and create green jobs for the many, many young people that are so eager to do something good for our planet and our societies.
بالحديث عن صندوق الاستدامة والمرونة لصندوق النقد الدولي، كان في تعهد البارحة من دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة ب200 مليون دولار لهذا الصندوق. أريد تقييمك لكل المساهمات ولكل المبادرات التي تم إطلاقها في الأيام الأولى للمؤتمر، تقييم صندوق النقد الدولي لها.
Let me express my deepest gratitude to UAE for the announcement of $200 million to be added to our Resilience and Sustainability Trust, as well as for the announcements made on $30 billion Altera Fund, which is exactly in the direction we need to go. Create a river of money to go into especially emerging markets and developing economies in a way that transforms how economies work. Overall, I think a lot is being now advanced, but we do have to step even further up. And I want to make one specific plea. It is to accelerate the adoption of carbon price, because this is the most powerful incentive to move faster already in the next years to decarbonize our economies.
بالحديث عن موضوع تسعير الكربون، وهو يمكن من الأمور المهمة لملف خفض الانبعاثات، والذي يعد ملف مركزي لمؤتمر الأطراف كوب 28 ولصندوق النقد. مع ذلك هناك نقاش كبير حول هذا الموضوع بالتحديد. ما هي خارطة الطريق التي وضعها صندوق النقد الدولي لتأمين ما يسمى بسوق واحدة وعاملة لتسعير الكربون؟
Let's start from national action to put a price on carbon. What we have seen over the last years is more jurisdictions are adopting a carbon price. We now have about 50 countries. We also have some 23 subnational and other jurisdictions. And the coverage of carbon price globally has reached almost 25%. Is this good? Yes, we are moving in the right direction. Is it enough? No, it is not. We have 75% to go. And the level of price has to rapidly move up from the average of $20 today to $85. Of course, with rich countries pricing carbon high and poor countries low, or for fragile states, not at all. Now, your question is on how to unify the carbon market. We have identified 73 different ways in which carbon is being priced. We have tax, we have trade, we also have regulatory compliance. And the coverage is very different. In some countries, 30%, in some countries, 70%. Price goes from a couple of dollars to over $100. How do you unify this universe? What we are doing is, together with the World Bank, OECD, and the World Trade Organization, we created a task force exactly on that. How can we bring equivalency of these different approaches, and how we can work towards integrating the carbon market? But let me say this as clearly as I can. We should not let the perfect be an enemy of the good. Even if they are still fragmented markets, moving towards this very powerful incentive is so essential. Why? First, carbon price works. You look at the European Union, since they adopted their trading scheme, they don't have tax, they have trade, they cut emissions by 37% while their economies are growing. Second, it generates revenues. For the EU, this is 175 billion euros that they can direct in, say, research and development to accelerate adaptation and mitigation. And three, carbon price is actually fair, because if you don't drive your car a lot, you don't pay a lot. But if you are having a big footprint, you contribute to decarbonization through the carbon price. And also it can be fair across countries by differentiating rich countries and poor countries. So let's move as much as possible at the national level, and then of course work towards integrating the carbon market by recognizing that it's never going to be perfect, because if one country uses tax and another one uses regulation, obviously this puts some barriers. But it does work, so please, everybody, move.
أبقى بنفس الموضوع. هناك بحث تحليلي صدر مؤخرا لصندوق النقد الدولي يتحدث عن حاجة العالم لاستثمارات بحوالي 5 تريليون دولار كل عام في الحلول منخفضة الكربون. سؤالي لك، هل هذه الأموال متاحة؟ وهل هي هل نحن قادرون أن نصل إليها؟
So first, do we have the money? Of course we have the money. The world economy is over $100 trillion strong. You look at one thing, fossil fuel subsidies. Today, fossil fuel subsidies are $1.3 trillion. If you add the absence of carbon price, which is in the order of another $5+ trillion. If you just go in introducing this carbon price, you can generate significant revenues. The private money is there, and the private money is very keenly interested in investing in the new climate economy because they know this is the future. So can we get to 5 trillion? Yes. How can it happen? Only if we move more private money in that area. We calculate that it has to go, the share of private sector money has to go from 40% where it is today to 80-90% by the end of this decade. To do so, what we are asking for is first for the government to direct subsidies to remove barriers for private sector investments, subsidies in research and development, in some of the basic infrastructure necessary for decarbonization, like charging stations. And second, to direct this flow of money towards the emerging markets, Why? Because this is where emissions are growing. And to do so, the multilateral banks, the IMF, we have a big role to play to help countries put in place climate policies that are transparent, that are simple to understand, as well as remove the basic obstacles for private investment. And we know what they are. Too much regulation, unclear regulation, rent seeking. The IMF takes a big step towards expanding our role in helping countries unleash the private sector potential for climate investments.
التقيت بالرئيس المصري عبد الفتاح السيسي، أخبرينا أكثر عن ما تم النقاش بشأنه إن كان على الإصلاحات الاقتصادية المصرية، وبالتأكيد الموضوع المثير للجدل اليوم وهو مرونة سعر الصرف.
We had an excellent discussion with President Sisi. That was a chance for me to also express the gratitude of the world to Egypt for being this sound, stable country, and also for the help in the terrible situation that is now experienced right there in the neighborhood. Egypt is surrounded by countries in trouble, from Sudan to Libya to, of course, Gaza. And that role of Egypt, of course, is only possible with a strong economy. I have expressed also our respect for all the steps Egypt has taken. And Egypt has done a lot on the reform front in terms of creating better environment for private sector investments, in opening up more space for the private sector, in terms of targeting support to the most vulnerable people, removing subsidies that benefit the rich, not only the poor, as well as in monetary policy, in the area of monetary policy. We are finishing an assessment of the economy because, of course, the war next door has created additional burden on Egypt. Once we finalize this assessment, we will be ready to come with the conclusion of the review. We are looking into whether we need to do a program augmentation.
يعني بتوقعاتك هل سيكون هناك رفع للقرض الحالي لمصر بسبب الأحداث الجارية وما يحدث؟
The answer is very likely yes, because of that additional burden on Egypt. I can just tell you that the IMF will strongly support Egypt in continuing these reforms. We were asked to help Egypt with inflation targeting, very wise, because inflation is an enemy of the poor, and we will continue to serve Egypt with the full strength of our policy capacity and our financial capacity. As you know, we have received the blessing of our members for 50% increase of our quota resources. That makes the fund financially strong at a time of so much turbulence, especially for countries like Egypt.
إذن اليوم نستطيع أن نقول بأن تركيز الصندوق ليس على سعر الصرف بحد ذاته وإنما على تخفيض الأسعار، صحيح؟
Our focus is to have the economy function as well as possible. And in that sense, yes, we prioritize fighting inflation, and then, of course, we would look at the exchange rate regime in that context.
المدير العام لصندوق النقد الدولي، رسالة أخيرة من هذه المنصة من مؤتمر الأطراف كوب 28 للعالم.
A better world is possible. It is all depending on each and every one of us. United, we can do miracles. United, we can keep a climate that provides a chance for good lives to our children and grandchildren.
المدير العام لصندوق النقد الدولي السيدة كريستينا جورجيفا، شكرا جزيلا لحضورك معنا اليوم.